Medici family, a powerful dynasty during Renaissance period, particularly in Florence, Italy. The dynasty started in 14th century to 17th century. The family dynasty began as a merchant and became the wealthiest banking families in Europe. They expanded the family by producing popes and married into European royal family, shaping Italian and Europe history for a century. They also a significant supporter of humanism, encouraging the study of classical texts and fostering cultural environmental that value art and literature. The family influence began in 13th century. They became the de facto ruler of Florence in 15th century, particularly under the Cosimo de' Medici. Their power peaked in 15th to 16th century, especially during the time of Lorenzo de' Medici. The political control started in 1532, where officially recognized as Duke of Florence, and at 1569, they were granted the title of the Grand Duke of Tuscany, expanding their rule over the surrounding region. But the ruling ended in 1737, but their legacy continued to the various lines and descendants.
The Medici family made significant contributions across various fields such as banking and finance, architecture, humanism and education, religion, arts and culture, and politics. In the field of banking and finance, Luca Pacioli, known as Italian father of accounting, published a book containing the first systematic description of double entry bookkeeping, which is a method in accountancy that is still used even today. Another contribution by the Medici family was the development of branch accounting during the leadership of Giovanni de' Medici and his son Cosimo de' Medici, where each branch kept its own set of accounts while consolidated into central bank's account. In the field of art and culture, the Medici supported and commissioned works from renowned artists such as Sandro Botticelli, who made The Birth of Venus, and Michelangelo, who created the David. Lorenzo de' Medici is known as the catalyst for an enormous amount of arts patronage, encouraging his countrymen to commission works from leading artists of Florence. One of the first modern museums housing Medici art is called the Uffizi Gallery, that led to the development of art collection and museum. In the field of education and humanism, Cosimo de' Medici sponsored numerous scholars, including Marsilio Ficino, who translated Plato's works into Latin, making classical knowledge more accessible to the educated elite. In the field of religion, the Medici family funded the construction of decoration of numerous churches, such as Santa Maria del Fiore and Basilica of San Lorenzo. The family produced four popes, including Leo X, Clement VII, Pius IV, and Leo XI. The family made four popes and influence within the church. It helped to shape the religious policies and responses to emerging reform movements. Now, in the field of politics, the Medici family had significant and lasting influence, not only in Florence but also in Europe, particularly in Renaissance period. Their wealth, political acumen, and patronage allowed them to become powerful figures in governance. They expanded their influence to different strategies such as marriages or strategic marriages across Europe. Lastly, in the field of architecture, the Medici family significantly influenced the landscape of Florence, such as Palazzo Medici, which is a lavish residence showcasing Renaissance design, Palazzo di Vecchio, the town hall symbolizing civic pride and power, and lastly, Uffizi Gallery, which is previously mentioned.
Now we will discuss about the background of Renaissance humanism. It originated in northern Italy and started in 14th century and continued to expand through 16th century and spread through Europe and England. The idea behind Renaissance humanism started from the people questioning about the established norms of the church after the Black Plague's impact on the cities. This questioning led to the birth of new ideas and learning. This further pushed scholars to rediscover and study ancient Greek and Roman writings. Furthermore, there are key figures that promote humanism, namely Medici family. The Medici family supported artists and scholars to further their studies about humanities. Second is Petrarch, who advocated the study of classical literature that helped lay the groundwork for movement. Now let's move on to the definition of Renaissance. Renaissance humanism, the term was invented in 19th century to describe the Renaissance idea that directly studies the work of antiquity, and it was an important part of the rounded education. It emphasized the study of classical texts from ancient Greece and Rome. It also emphasized the civic responsibility and celebrated human achievements. It also emphasized the value of education in arts, philosophy, and science. Secularism emphasizes a worldview that prioritizes human values and reasoning over religious doctrines. Another notable word, Another noteworthy person is Petrarch. Petrarch is often called the father of humanism along with other influential figures like Erasmus and Thomas More. What are humanists? They believe in the importance of education in classical literatures and promotion of civic virtue that is realizing a person's full potential both for their own good and for the good of the society which they live. The characteristics of a humanist is studying literature and art from antiquity, interest in eloquent use of Latin and philology, a belief in importance and power of education to create useful citizens, the promotion of private and civic virtue, the rejection of scholasticism, the encouragement of non-religious studies, an emphasis on individual and their moral autonomy, a belief in the importance of observation, critical analysis, and creativity, a belief that poets, writers, and artists can lead humanity to a better way of living, an interest in the question, what does it mean to be a human?
Francesco Petrarch was born on July 20, 1304, in Arezzo, Italy. His parents were exiled from Florence in 1302 due to the political conflict between the Guelphs and Ghibellines, which influenced his poetry's themes of loss and transience. Petrarch studied law at the University of Montpellier and the University of Bologna from 1316 to 1323, but found it unfulfilling, preferring to focus on writing and Latin literature. He was known as the first tourist for his extensive travels across Europe, where he served as an ambassador and collected ancient Latin manuscripts that significantly contributed to the revival of classical knowledge during the Renaissance. His admiration for classical works emphasized human reasoning and challenged medieval beliefs, inspiring the Renaissance movement that celebrated individual potential and creativity. In 1341, Petrarch was crowned Poet Laureate of Rome, marking the first such honor since the Roman Empire. This recognition established his fame in Italy, particularly for his sonnets about a woman named Laura. Sonnet 61 by Francesco Petrarch captures the speaker's deep gratitude for the moment he first encountered Laura, the woman who inspired his poetry. He blesses not only the specific day, month, and year, but also the emotions and experiences that love brings, celebrating both the joy and the pain associated with it. The speaker describes how he feels like a prisoner to his emotions, reflecting the transformative power of love in his life. This sonnet is particularly renowned among the 366 poems in Canzoniere because it encapsulates Petrarch's idealization of love and beauty. It highlights the intricate balance of ecstasy and despair, themes central to Petrarchian love poetry. The poem's lyrical expression and profound emotional depth make it a standout work, influencing the portrayal of love in literature for centuries to come.
The background, contribution, and work of Giovanni Boccaccio, the greatest writer of vernacular Italian prose of the medieval period. He was born in Florence in 1313 in a village near Sortando where his family was from. He was the son of Florentine merchant Boccacino di Cellino, and the identity of his mother is unknown. He was likely born out of wedlock. His stepmother was called Margherita di Mardone. He grew up in Florence and attended school in there and was taken into work at the age of 10. He was sent to Naples in 1327 to study business and law. However, his growing interest in literature drew him away from studying these subjects. He eventually gave up on studying and dedicated himself entirely into writing. Boccaccio is considered as one of the three crowns of Italian literature along with Dante Alighieri and Petrarch. He also contributes to language and culture, the Italian language and literature by writing in Italian. He helped establish it as a legitimate literary language, contributing to its standardization. And when the Black Death occurred, he was inspired by the events that happened in the middle of the chaos. By that time, his book, The Decameron, was dead. The book structured as a prime story containing 100 tales told by the group of 7 young women and 3 young men that flee in Florence to make a new life. He completed several works in Naples, including La Casa di Diana, his first but not well regarded. El Filocolo on 36, a love story of Florio and Bianco Fiore. El Filostrato on 1338, a poem about Rubens and Cressida. Cressida on 1340 to 1341, an epic on the rivalry between Arcita and Cordelia.
The Decameron 10 Days is a collection of 100 tales Boccaccio compiled between 1348 and 1353 CE. In the year 1348, a great plague sweeps through Florence, Italy. The disease causes intense suffering and almost certain death. The city descends into panic and chaos. In response to the horror, 10 young people abandoned Florence for the countryside. Each day ends with a song, some of which represent Boccaccio's finest poetry. The work is a portrayal of medieval life and its exploration of social classes, morality, and human behavior. Boccaccio organizes this framing story according to an elaborate system based on numbers, because numbers have special meanings in medieval literature. Boccaccio's numerical structure is also thematic. Day 1 consists of a witty discussion of human vices. On day 2, people who suffer misfortune but unexpectedly find happiness. Day 3, people who have achieved their desires through their own efforts. Day 4 is marked by tragic love stories. Day 5 brings happy endings to love that does not at first run smoothly. The stories on the 6th day are short jokes with punches. Trickery, deceit, and often body licenses run free on day 7, 8, and 9. By day 10, earlier themes are brought to a high pitch. The widely borrowed stories, the patient Griselda closes the cycle of tales.
One story told from the Decameron is the 10th story on the 3rd day told by Dioneo. The story starts in Tunisia, where we are introduced to a naive young woman named Alibek, traveling Egypt to serve God. Although she wasn't Christian, she was inspired by the Christians around her that she decided to embark on a journey to find holy men like monks and priests to learn how to best serve God. Upon reaching the desert, she encountered several monks and priests, but because of her beauty, she was sent away because of their fear of temptation. She eventually met a man named Drastico. He becomes obsessed with her beauty and sets up a plan to seduce Alibek under the disguise of religious instructions. Drastico tells Alibek that to serve God, she must help him put the devil back in hell. She has no idea how to perform this religious act, but proceeds to blindly follow Drastico's lead. They end up naked and kneeling opposite each other in a prayer. Drastico becomes erect, seeing Alibek's figure. Alibek being a virgin, she is oblivious to what is happening in front of her. Drastico tells her that his erection was caused by the devil, and she has a place inside of her known as hell, where he has to put it. She becomes enamored of putting the devil back in hell that Drastico is unable to keep up with her anymore and wants to get rid of her. After that, Alibek learns that her family has perished in a fire, leaving her as the sole heir. A young man named Nirbal seeks her out to marry her. When asked by local women how she served God, she innocently recounted her experience with Drastico, leading the women to laugh at her innocence and that they assure her that Nirbal will help continue her divine service.